Alright, match 3 on the draw. Turn 1 lightning bolt available. And then any blue source we draw is turn 3 Seagate Oracle. And then hopefully a second blue source and the counter spell. This is kind of a slow hand. It's got lands and spells, it's got the removal, it's fine against aggro. It's okay against control. I think we can keep this. Really do need to draw that blue source in the first 3 turns though. This would be a pretty bad hand against Affinity, I guess, since the lightning bolt's not great. And we can't combo off quickly. Alright, they're going to Thought Scour on our end step. This is probably Angler Delver. They flipped 2 Dismal Backwaters, so hopefully they weren't looking for lands. Hopefully for them. In our opinion, it'd be great for us if they were looking for lands. Delver of Secrets. Evolving Wilds. Go ahead and get rid of that. Another Seagate Oracle. We really need to find that blue source. There we go, right on time. This can get countered. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't block Gurmag Angler well at all. Soul Manipulation. Well, that's a card I haven't seen in a long time. They get a nice little 2-for-1 here, getting their Delver back. This might be a control deck running... No, they got Thought Scours. This is definitely the Gurmag Angler deck. I was going to say because of Soul Manipulation, this might be Dimir Teachings deck that just happens to run Delver Secrets because they do that sometimes, but... Nope, it's almost certainly the mill deck. Angler here, looks like. Plus also Delver. Oh, Scavenger. That's much less scary than Angler is, since it dies to a Lightning Bolt, or a Flame Slash, or a lot more things. Alright, gotta play this before my land drop in case I draw an untapped land, or a tap land rather, that I want to play. Second blue is pretty important, especially since I can't cast the Archaeomancer without the second blue anyway, so... Let's take this, pass the turn. Alright, they flip with Think Twice and bash us for 6 in the air. And they're going to have to counter this, because otherwise it's going to net me 5 mana and trade with Insectile Liberation. Okay, there's the counter spell. Five cards in hand, one of them Think Twice, and we need to draw removal as soon as possible. Ghostly Flicker. Okay. Actually, what exactly do I want to do here? I could play a land, tap 2 mountains and an island. Yeah, I think that's best. That way I can hold up and counter a counter spell, and also get my removal spell in. But I didn't draw a removal spell, so forget that. I'm going to take a mountain because it's nice to discard to Compulsive Research. I would love to hold up and counterspell here, but I'm just going to die anyway, even if they cast nothing, so I have to find counter magic. I suppose I could also have Ghostly Flickered twice. That's a valid option. But that's a little bit more wrecked by removal, so... They cast Think Twice that we knew that they had, and also a Brainstorm. This is the time when I wish this had been Gurmag Angler, since I could have chump blocked it twice, and since it's flying, it's not the case. Delver Secrets, okay. Another Flame Slash is good. Boop. Boop. Alright, and now I get to hold up in Ghostly Flicker and Counterspell. I could also Ghostly Flicker main phase, which would be perfectly fine. That would be better if I draw another Flame Slash, although I already used 2. So that's not very likely. If this Delver flips, then I'm going to have to Ghostly Flicker to dig for a removal spell. If they have a counter spell, I can't really win this game unless they also don't flip this Delver and they don't play like an Angler or something on their turn. Alright, let's go ahead and attack. And let's get greedy. Let's pass the turn. Since we're so far behind, we're going to get greedy. And the greed we're going to get is they're not going to flip this Delver, and then they're going to attack, and then we're going to Ghostly Flicker and ambush the attacker. That's what I'm planning on. Oh, nope. They flipped it. Okay. Well, they also had Druid Deprive with that, so I should have actually put the stop on upkeep in case they did flip it and reveal a counterspell, because now, even if I draw removal, it doesn't matter, because I can't also counterspell in the same turn. And that's why you always put a stop on the upkeep whenever they have a Delver of Secrets. As it turns out, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, unless I'd done it main phase, but like I said, I was getting greedy, so. Alright, they take us down. Soul Manipulation is the only weird card we saw. I guess Think Twice is not always seen in these decks. Sometimes it's accumulated knowledge, so. Standard Angler Delver deck. So we definitely want the Relic of Progenitus, and we probably want some number of Pyroblasts. It doesn't take out Sultai Scavenger or Gurmag Angler, or Chainer's Edict if they have it. But it does take out Delver of Secrets and counter spells and Deprive, so it's still pretty important. Firebolt only kills Delver and nothing else, and Delver's also the thing we care least about. So I think I'm gonna get rid of that. Against Gurmag Anglers, we don't have any good removal. They're just going to come down before we get to counterspell it most of the time. We have to 2-for-1 ourselves with Flame Slashes or Lightning Bolts. Pyroblast doesn't do it. Relic, it slows them down, but they can still cast at least 1 in any given game in like the first 4 turns, even through a Relic most likely. So do we want to try to 2-for-1 ourselves to get them off the table, or do we want to try to combo off as quickly as possible? I think I just want to try to get to 5 mana and drop the Peregrine Drake beads as quickly as possible. Seagate Oracle is a pretty bad blocker in this matchup. I'd rather just have Compulsive Research most of the time. It's nice to gain 5 life against a Gurmag Angler, but Delver of Secrets is generally going to flip and then it's not going to block that. Their creatures are so cheap and they have counter magic of their own that I'm not likely to be able to counterspell them, because they'll play their creature and hold up another counterspell of their own, so I'll just trade for a counterspell instead of a creature. Counterspell is worse. I'll just go down to 2. We get to be on the play. 1 land and it's a Boilerworks. Can't possibly keep this hand, unfortunately. And we got our Peregrine Drake. We got lands to get there. And we have a Lightning Bolt. We should have the time to play a Preordain. Let's keep that. They play a tap land turn 1. We get to Preordain, see what we want to do. Bunch of lands, we don't need any more right now. Boilerworks is nice with Peregrine Drake around, but we just need more action spells. Preferably Muldrifter, so we can go Peregrine Drake, Muldrifter. If we can catch our opponent when they're tapped out. Alright, Brainstorm main phase. Means they probably have an Evolving Wilds to sculpt their hand and shuffle the top after they put 2 cards back. Yep, there it is. Compulsive. So I can play untapped land just to be able to compulsive this turn. But I really want to save this untapped land for hitting my 5th land drop. So I think I'm going to wait and just hold open Lightning Bolt instead. It can hit an Angler, or not an Angler, it can hit a Scavenger or a Delver of Secrets, so I think that's sufficient reason. I'm probably not going to draw to cycle this Forgotten Cave if they don't give me a lightning bolt target, because I can discard it to compulsive if I need to, and I can play it next turn if I need to as well. If I don't draw any more lands, I'm going to play this as my 4th mana source, and this is my 5th. Alright, they just pass the turn. Preordain is fine. Muldrifter is great. Flame Slash is less great, so I'm going to put it away. If they had a Scavenger or a Delver, they'd have played it already, so I don't really need 2 different removal spells against them. I can put these 2 together to get rid of an Angler, but I'd rather just not do that right now, I think. Although, if I'm drawing a bunch of cards, cheap removal is exactly what I want, to be able to empty out my hand and make maximum use of drawing cards. The problem with Flame Slash is I can't combo it. With Lightning Bolt, I can Lightning Bolt a Gurmag Angler and block it. With Flame Slash, since it's sorcery speed, it's pretty hard to pull off unless they block your creature when you attack. I'm just going to put it on the bottom. I don't think I want this Flame Slash. This is a great turn to not play anything relevant since they're holding up in Counterspell and Deprive. Now they can think twice or they can brainstorm or whatever. But they don't get to counter one of my 3 or 4 drops, which is nice. And now hopefully they tap out for like a Gurmag Angler. So I can go Peregrine Drake, Muldrifter, GG. Brainstorm, okay. Main phase means they probably have another Evolving Wilds, or they're just trying to fill the yard for Angler, maybe. Any 1 mana spell is mana neutral if you're going to cast a Delve spell later on that turn. Alright, they just play an island and pass, so it looks like they might be Brainstorm locked. Okay, so here it would be very foolish to play Peregrine Drake. Or maybe it wouldn't, I don't know. I want to have at least 1 Peregrine Drake survive so I can combo off. And if I do this, they basically have to counter it. However, right now, they're effectively Brainstorm locked because it doesn't look like they have a shuffle effect. They didn't play like a Ponder there or an Evolving Wilds. And they probably don't have a Sultai Scavenger or Gurmag Angler or really any good creature that they thought they should play because they would have played it. Because last turn, I don't think we had Counter Magic available yet. So that means they probably have a mostly reactive hand with removal spells and counter spells and so on. I could just play Peregrine Drake, next turn play Peregrine Drake and force them to counter every single time. Or I could bait it out with a Compulsive Research. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to bait it out with a Compulsive Research. This is still a pretty good card draw spell. I'm doing it before I hit my land drop, so they might think I'm digging for land and be tempted to counter it to slow me down. And I'd much rather them counter this. Oh, well, that was awkward. I just got Spell Pierced when I had it untapped land in hand. Well, it probably would have gotten something eventually. But they got me that time at least. There's actually an argument for me wanting them to Spell Pierce me, so even if I knew they had it in hand, I might have wanted to keep the island in hand, just so that they'd use it. And so I wouldn't be forced to basically pay 2 more and go ahead with the compulsive. They Brainstorm again on their main phase. Gurmag Angler, okay. Counterspell backup. Well, now it's really awkward because I get to 2-for-1 myself with their counterspell instead of with their Gurmag Angler if I go for Flame Slash into Lightning Bolt. Now I might have to run out the Peregrine Drake and let them counter it just to get the counterspell out of their hand. And because it's really not the end of the world if I lose his Peregrine Drake. Yep, I think this is what I have to do, unfortunately. I really don't want to trade this for a counterspell, but I don't really have better options. I don't want to trade Lightning Bolt plus Flame Slash for a counterspell either. And the only thing left I can really do that turn is Compulsive Research. I have no lands in hand to discard, so I'd have to draw one and then discard it. I don't know what our opponent's thinking about. They can't let this resolve. It's too efficient. It's a 2/3 flyer that also gives me an extra turn almost. Miscalculation, counter for 2, okay. I get to bash this for 5. Pyroblast, okay. So now, since I have the Pyroblast, this is the time where I'm going to try to take down this Angler. Because I'm not going to be able to easily take it down with blocking it or double blocking it or block plus removal. So I'm going to go all in here, and I'm going to try to counter their counter with the Pyroblast to make this 2-for-1 removal work. And if I fail, I'm probably going to lose. Okay, I failed. Now, if they don't have another counter spell, I might be able to have a crazy turn next turn with Peregrine Drake into Muldrifter plus something, maybe. But probably not. Most likely they get to just play another Angler or Scavenger here. And then even if I have a good turn, then I'm not going to win. They gush. Okay. Delver of Secrets. Delver of Secrets. Alright, replay Island. Bash for 5. Alright, moment of truth. Do they have even more counter magic? They've already used Miscalc, Counterspell, Spell Pierce. And they do in fact have more. They have a Soul Manipulation. They didn't get back a creature, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to be dead because they're eventually going to flip these. And even if they don't flip it, I'm taking 7. Well, our opponent had good starts both games. They were able to put us on the back foot and counter the things that they needed to counter. Gurmag Angler is pretty good against this deck, since we don't have any 1-for-1 removal for it, except for Counterspell, which isn't really removal, it's reactive. Mental note, second Gurmag Angler. I don't think there's anything I can do here. Anything I could possibly draw. That is game. Well, I'm surprised that I'm going to be 1-2 with this deck. But at least we'll be in the 1-2 bracket then, and maybe we can take down the last 2 matches to get it to 3-2. Alright, here we go.